Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week, I checked out The Gardener, or if you prefer the French name, Le Jardinier. And this 2025 film was directed by David Cordon and stars Jean-Claude Van Damme, Michael Young, and Caris. No last name given on that one, among others, of course. The story of this movie follows this French senator, and he goes on vacation just for the weekend to his beach home. And then for some reason, he's on the president's hit list. And so he sends this hit team for him. And wouldn't you know it, once the hit team gets there, they have to contend with the gardener, who is Jean-Claude Van Damme. So the gardener tries to rescue them all and teams up with the guy, and then it's got to rescue the family, and who knows what will happen. Well, for that, though, you got to watch the movie and find out. Alright, so let's discuss this film. Well, this one is an action comedy, and of course, comedy is going to be subjective, but I gotta say, I enjoyed the comedy. I also have to tell you, I did watch the dub version. I just thought, for something silly like this, after all, it's one of the, the plus a noun movie. What did I watch? I watched The Beekeeper or something like that, or The Courier or something, all these just the plus a noun. And so for that, I thought, I'm not going to bother reading for this one, so just put it on the dub. And the dub, I thought was kind of funny. Like, part of it was they were saying very American things, and they were very kind of Parisian and stuff like that. So just the type of stuff that comes out of their mouth, I just kind of chuckled at. And then I'm not sure how the jokes kind of translate. I think some of them certainly, worked into it, because eventually, the senator and Jean-Claude Van Damme, they team up, but then they get this baby, and it starts to become like two men and a baby doing kung fu, and it's just like kind of funny and humorous. And then certainly some translations are, whether or not they're actually in the original one, who knows. For example, in the dub, there's this kind of ongoing joke that this henchmen keep like fighting Jean-Claude Van Damme, and like they're always like, oh, you have such nice skin, like what's your skincare routine, as they're being beaten up. And I don't know, I just thought that was kind of clever, at least for the dub. And so I thought, the comedy, for what it was fun enough. And it's also not kind of American comedy where it's, more about, slapstick or stuff. This one, they actually kind of like build up to jokes and stuff like that. And then there's just jokes like that come out of right field and stuff like that. So I did enjoy the comedy. I was chuckling quite a few times. And so that was certainly good. So if you're a fan of comedy, you can certainly kind of check this one out. It has quite a few chuckles for you. And of course, with an action comedy, it's got some action. So Jean-Claude Van Damme's in this one. He doesn't do any splits or anything like that. And he's like an old guy now. I looked up his age. He's 64 at the time of filming this. But I guess for the movie, he would have been 63, which is, not a young age. And so he's still doing kicks and stuff like that, but, no splits. And so the action, I would say, is serviceable for what it is, for what you kind of expect. Even like the senator tries to get in on some kung fu. And so, yeah, the action, certainly serviceable for this comedy action film, or action comedy film, whichever you prefer. And that brings me to Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's in this one. He's a very kind of stoic character who doesn't say a lot. And even in like the first, 45 minutes or stuff, he's very like nonchalant about it, and he really looks like he doesn't want to be there as well, and he doesn't care about it all. But that adds to kind of the humor of his character, I thought. And so I think him being in it and him being a main character, it's not like just a cameo like in, what was it called, Universal Soldier 6, where he's in it for 10 minutes. This one, he's in it for most of it. So that certainly is good. And I gotta say, I just enjoyed watching him on screen, and of course his reactions and stuff like that. I think just work for his character in this one, and of course work for him as an actor as well. Other than that, I did enjoy the story. There seemed to be more kind of like twists and turns always being developed into it. And then, with Jean-Claude Van Damme's character and his kind of story arc, and how what happened to him in the past, and how that kind of trickles out, I thought was good. And then how he forms friendships with, the senator and the family and the baby and all this different type of stuff. Certainly, I think adds heart to the story. So, the story, I didn't expect too much of it after watching, the Beehive or the Courier or anything like that. was better than I expected, but at the same time, it's not that much, so I had low expectations. So they certainly surpassed the low expectations, I guess, which I would say is a good thing. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this film. Well, like I said, Jean-Claude Van Damme's an old man, so, be forgiving of his skills. Certainly, he doesn't do as many kicks or punches as you would like him to, but, he does what he can. And then what else? I would say it takes a long time to get going. They have also the opening scene they play twice, like they play it in the opening, and then they do 6 hours before, and then they show it again, and it's just like, why would you show that twice? Like, that doesn't make sense. Or I guess it does make sense, but it's like, I've already seen it. So for me, it's, redundant. And then it takes like 30 minutes for, Jean-Claude Van Damme to really kind of get into his own and even kind of really show up, to tell you the truth. And so that certainly takes too long. And then the movie itself is like 1 hour and 40 minutes, and it is way too long that way. Like the last 20 minutes is all extra stuff. Certainly it's fun stuff, but they do have like kind of a conclusive ending at the 1 hour and 20 minute mark. And then they have this whole kind of extended, ending. And so, yeah, it's certainly a little bit too long. But at the same time, if you're just, very lazy on the couch one day, the length will not be, too bad. So the pacing, or at least the length of it, does cause you to grab your phone for a few minutes here or there. But luckily, something interesting enough happens that you put it down. So yeah, that is certainly, the issues with this one. Other than that, there's a bunch of silly jokes that also just don't land as well. Like the senator guy can't change a baby's diaper, and that's a joke. And so, that didn't land with me, but that's the subjectivity of comedy that way. But I would say, a lot of them did kind of make me chuckle or smile at least. So yeah, with some of the jokes, definitely misses. But I would say there's probably more chuckles than eye rolls in this one. As for a recommendation, I would say sure, you can press play on this one. Just, be kind of forgiving of it all. I watched the dub, like I said, and so it is kind of funny, kind of fun. And with Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's a fun guy to watch. So, press play if you want to. As for a rating, well, I have to give it the okay score of 4 because it was very okay. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.